there we go. Always issues at the start, as I remember how to work things, because it's been a few days. I need a break from studying, so I thought we might as well check out spoilers. I can get my mind sorted around whatever I want to put into an actual video, right? So, yeah, I think there's a good chunk of them out now. Weirdly, what I just realized, right, the super rares didn't get touched, so the leaker obviously had no idea what they had, right? Which is fantastic because there's some really, really great super rares, and I'm glad that we're seeing that, right? And they are split relatively well, right, between classes, talents, and talent classes. So yeah, every card that is coming out just makes me more excited for this set, and I think many people are in that similar boat where the set wasn't super appealing to begin with, and was a bit questionable, right? The thematics and everything, but they've hit the nail on the head, right? There's enough of the other goofiness, but then it's still, the core of Flesh and Blood, right? Look at that, right? Jaws of Victory, awesome card, awesome looking card. But let's go through some stuff. I actually want to go straight to the first legendary that we have finally, right? The Gauntlets of Tyrannical Rex. So this is a curiosity. It's definitely useful. It's definitely valid. So the main comparison is between this and Bonebreaker Apex, right? So Bonebreaker Apex, when you defend with it and a 6 power card, you get a might token, right? Same temper 2, so you can defend twice with it, get 2 might tokens out of it, versus Tyrannical Rex, where you can seemingly reuse it, but the use case is kind of awkward, right? So action, pay 1, tap. Your next attack this turn gets +1. Activate this only if you have a card with 6 or more power in your pitch zone. So the main first thought is probably Tough Nut and Rock, right? But even that is really, really awkward, right? Because as Tough Nut, for instance, so Tough Nut, you hit a 1 to 3 pitch card, yeah? That's also your 6 power card, which is great, right? Means that that's sorted, and I have spaced this horribly again. I need to watch the recording screen rather than the actual screen. But anyway, where can I write with the mouse? Okay, yeah. Right? So we have Tough Nut. You hit a 1 to 3 pitch card that acts as your 6 power card, turning on these gloves, right? You could then use these gloves. So if you use the gloves, so we'll go with G, right? That puts your pitch down to a 0 to 2 because you can't pitch into it, right? Because you have resources floating. So you then get the +1, but now you're in this awkward state of 0 to 2. You then still need a way to clear your hand in order to then rock. So, the case there would be something like you'd want to go card from hand first, floating resources, or not floating resources. What would it be? It would be a 1 cost with a red, right? To then be able to glove with the other red, or even yellow in that case. And that doesn't really matter. In fact, at that point, it doesn't really matter what color at all. And then you could Tough Nut to then go into your rock, right? But it still relies on you being able to, A, pitch a card into something that has go again, and again, hitting a 6, right? Because if you Tough Nut to hit a 6 beforehand, then it gets a bit awkward because the resources for gauntlets come out of that. Now, that said, it's not an impossible thing to do, but it is something that's a little bit more build around. And when cards are, a little bit more build around, they need to have great value associated to it. And I don't necessarily know if this is it, right? But it's still very cool legendary and will definitely be toyed around with. As who? Who probably has the easiest time? Because the other thing, it's an action. May I ask what tool you're using to draw on the PC screen so easily? So with Opera GX, because that's the browser I'm using, it is a plugin. I should say extension. What is it? Vector Draw. Paint on tap. There you go. Right? And then it's just a little pen button. You guys can't see because it's above. And it puts, a little screen. And you can write. Very, very useful. It's got your standard normal, colors and whatnot, right? But I assume there's, plugins / extensions for Chrome, for Explorer, if that's what you're using. But yeah, so Gauntlets of Tyrannical Rex. As anyone else, you still have, again, that case where you need to pitch something into something. Sure, it could then use the floating resources, which is nice. All for a +1. I suppose the curve is you take something a little bit more hefty, because we are getting a lot more yellows and blues when it comes to 6, right? So you can definitely have more excess resources to go into this. Idea there is you still just build a 6-power deck, you pitch something into 1 attack, this turns on, you use a spare resource if you have it into this. But again, in that case, it's just sort of a filler thing that you get use out of it sometimes, right? Whereas Apex Bonebreaker is definitely a lot more applicable, and you can time it a little bit better with what you're trying to do, right? Because this always involves doing something first, then using it, which is a little bit awkward. I feel like I would have liked it a lot more if it was just simply you have to pitch a 6-power card into this or something like that, right? But yeah, we'll see what it ends up with. Again, in the in like a full blue deck for rock becomes very, very awkward because again, you pitch into rock, you then, have 3 resources, which is for your rock, you have to clear your hand. Gauntlets doesn't help in that scenario in any fashion, right? So even if it's, you block out with your hand, you're still in that same situation where gauntlets have no use. In fact, if you're in the big blue deck, just trying to block out, granted there's not that many, 6-power blues, it probably be a case of Bonebreaker anyway, right? Because then you get the might off of the blocking, right? Because that's how you're emptying your hand. So yeah, with that said, what we should then look at is the brute stuff, right? Because there is cards like some of Sinew, though again, this doesn't pitch, right? So, trying to massage the floating resources to make stuff like this work, to then have the 3 left over for rock, is the awkwardness. But we are getting some really nice brute attacks, right? Brute cards in general. So we have Reckless Stampede. We might as well start here since we're at the gloves. Reckless Stampede. Whenever a card defends this, clash with the defending hero. The winner deals 1 damage to the other hero. Each hero may put the revealed card on the bottom of its owner's deck. So you can basically, figure out your top card for Tough Knight, your top card for who else really cares? I suppose it's just about drawing, right? And sifting. Or then, maybe you have a second clash effect. Because it is whenever it is defended against. So you clash, as part of the resolution of that first clash, you get to then, if you want, put your card to the bottom. So it does allow you to make sure you don't consistently win clashes. Although from the opponent's perspective, they also get that scenario as well, right? Each hero may put, yeah. So if they lose, they can try and look for something better. But then again, depending on what you reveal, they probably, might think, well, there's no point, right? Because this is just a damage card, right? It's not something significant like, what was this one, Smashing Ground, which definitely seems really, really interesting, especially for middle KO, right? Not, Reckless is the young one, right? No, you have to look up KOs. What are the 3? It is Berserker. Berserker, armed, underhand. Done. For Berserker, doubling it is just fantastic for middle KO, right? This becomes, well, it's not a 6 on the chain, actually. This has 6 or more power, so you'd still be looking to buff it. But it's still, a nice blue 6 for all your other means. Revealing, pitching, discarding, etc. Anyway, Reckless Stampede. So, yeah. It's either big damage by Reckless Stampede or the chance to get the chip damage down from the clashing, right? So it's a really nice card near the end game because, again, your opponent, for instance, say they're on, we'll go with 3 life, right? You present Reckless Stampede. They then have to block with at least 2 cards, right? A 4 and something, for instance, meaning that it clashes twice and they're still, maybe going down to 2 or 1. So, yeah. But at the same time, it becomes awkward because it's red, right? And it's not something you can try and save till the end game. Although, again, we're getting a lot of cards to cycle stuff back, right? You have, what's the Mastery Pack Guardian one? God, I thought I had a copy of it somewhere because I ran over it with my chair wheels accidentally. The one that's when this defends, pick 2 cards, your opponent picks 1, and it goes back to your deck. Top of your deck, even, right? Because that would be great with Reckless Stampede and some of the other really damning effects. So, yeah. Zero block is also interesting because they're playing around toughness, right? So rather than the brute cards just being no block, you can still present them, and then they can get +1 from something, right? Mainly toughness, or there's other effects as well that buff attack, block, etc. Alright, Trail Strength. This gets -1 for each card with 6 or more power defending it. So a 2 cost, nice big 8, swing big-ish card, right? So, yeah, in the right matchups, this is definitely very, very damning because, you know, it's a low cost 8, right? Which is really nice. Challenge the Alpha. When this attacks a Brute Hero, this gets +2. When this hits a Brute Hero, they discard a card. If it has 6 or more, you lose 2 life. Interesting. So, would you class this as limited, right? Or is it? It's still a yellow 6. So it still has functional use elsewhere. So it doesn't necessarily have to rely on the Brute shenanigans, right? But still, against a Brute, it then becomes an 8, which is pretty nice. But they can probably, you know, discard. I mean, in that scenario, though, it's still, you know, a pummel-esque effect, even if you're taking the 2 life. So it is a really strong card, right, in all aspects, because again, baseline, yellow 6, that's what Brute wants. And then against the mirror matchups, or, you know, any Brute matchups, the 3 for 8, that then causes discard on hit, right? Yeah, that's nice enough. Smashing Ground, if has 6 or more power, it gets when this hits a hero, destroy card in your arsenal. The nice arsenal destruction on a blue as well, right? It being a 5 though, means it needs the +1. Middle KO again, probably uses it best because he likes 5s, but you know, for everyone else, it's still probably a decent enough card, right? I mean, Cheeto can make it a 6. No, he can't, right? He can't use his ability on Reveal. Where is he? Instant pay 3, target action cards you control. Yeah, so the control. So it has to be on the stack or in the arena, right? So you can't turn something in your pitch into a 6 for like Zealous Beating is the card. And you can't, you know, put a revealed card for a clash or anything to a 6. But still, Arsenal Destruction, right? We need more of it. Granted, it needs, you know, we either need enough of it that we can Command and Conquer, or we need cards that are a bit more contestable to Command and Conquer. But again, if we get something like Command and Conquer with the block prevention, it basically just becomes include with Command and Conquer. But a Arsenal Destruction effect on a strong blue is definitely nice, right? Smash with a big rock. Cards defending this can't gain a block. Can't gain block. Who matters that? Who does that matter most against? I guess the toughness generation, right? I mean, it means no, the boots aren't gaining block. It sets its base. The quick dodge flexes sets its base to X block, right? What other stuff? I guess the new Guardian equipment, kinda, right? Yeah, again, it's a yellow 6, right? That's all we really want is more a stronger pitch basis for all our nice big things. Song of Sinnoh, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Your next attack this turn gets +X, where X is the number of cards with 6 or more power revealed this way. Then put them back in any order. So not quite as big as Cast the Bones, but you do get the organization effect, right? Which is really nice. And it's a straight effect, right? Cast the Bones is create might and agility if you hit all 6, right? So a 0 for a +4. So stuff like this is what I want to have in my Tough Nut playable rock-ish deck, right? Where you're looking for, you know, a 1 cost and a 0 maybe, and that way you can pitch into the 1 cost, float 1 resource, and then hit a yellow off the top of your deck and get to the 3, right? So in that case, this would be a 4 in yellow, but, you know, with a decent chance of misses in this style of deck, though. So, you know, even if it's a 2, that's a on rate, plus a 2, and then you're rocking for 11. Not great, but, you know, have a go at it, right? I think everyone's just going to toy around with rock for the first week or so, and probably realize it's still not good, and let it go. Visit the Boneyard. Put a card with 6 or more power from your graveyard on top of your deck. Create a Vigor token. Dig Up Dinner does see play, but then you have the life aspect of Dig Up Dinner as well. I should really have a second tab of this open so we can search up cards that come up to mind. Dig Up Dinner is choose 3 random cards in your graveyard, shuffle all. I suppose this also is an instant, has a cost to it. Shuffle all attack action cards with 6 or more chosen this way into your deck, then gain that much life, banish this. And you don't get to select actively the card you're putting back. Plus, it's not going to the top. So I suppose, in all facets, this is worth significantly more than the life gain aspect, plus the resource, right? So in fact, this is, gain a resource on the next turn, which you could use straight away as well. You could also, again, use this to line up rock, right? Have that one resource to go into something like gauntlets, for instance, right? Yeah, it's a solid enough instant. No? Alright, back to the top so we can go in proper order. Okay, so we have the Revered Brutes. Action cards. Good Natured Brutality. When this defends, if you have no cards in hand, this gets +6 and the crowd it cheers you. If the crowd cheers you, you then also get a toughness, right, as Tough Nut. I mean, the go for me again with toughness. Where is it? The token's not shown yet? Interesting. I guess I do need Fabry open then as well. Super Slam. Right, so toughness. Start of your opponent's turn, destroy this in the next action card you defend with this turn, gets +1. This chain link, right? So next action card you defend with gets +1 this chain link. Yeah, so a one-off, right? So to get the value out of this and make up for the one card you're missing, you probably have to, again, consistently get to like 2 of them. So you've got 1 through Tough Nut and then 2 through a card like Good Natured Brutality. So yeah, solid enough, right? And the fact that this is a empty your hand block 6 kind of cool. So, you go block 3, 3, and then a 6. And then on your next turn, you'd get that 1 plus maybe a Tough Nut to rock. So this would be a 2, right? So you could go 5, 3, 6, right? So he will have a decent amount of block value. I mean, that is only 2 above. And this is on rate. Yeah. And this would be on rate. And chances are, obviously, you don't hit this back to back. Need more of it, right? Which is what we are seeing. But still, solid potential 6 block, which is definitely for no value, right? As in for no cost, is definitely crazy, right? Would we count as power creep if it wasn't in the hero with 3 intellect? Maybe. Jaws of Victory. When this stacks hero, if you have less life than them, the crowd cheers you. If you've been cheered this turn, this gets go again. So, interesting. I mean, I suppose you will be taking damage as Tough Nut, just that balancing act, right? But, a 6 turn on go again is definitely nice. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. So, again, you get the toughness to sort of recoup your life. And then you get these strong effects. The problem is as soon as you have these effects on board as Brute, you then go back to chipping down your opponent pretty quickly, right? Because you're presenting big stuff. Still, right, it's a solid enough red, and we want more go again effects. So we can string enough stuff together. Although, again, is this really usable in Rock Tough Nut? So you have this, you have a blue, you float 1 resource. You could then gauntlets as well. You still have that extra card in your hand. I mean, it's nice enough, though, you will have the ability to get rid of cards like even this, for instance, would that have that 0 block or that instant discard to line up your turns a little bit better, right? Because the ideal turn with this and Rock would be you go Jaws. Oh, that's off screen. We're going to write here. You go Jaws, pitching a blue to then Glove. Those are horrible arrows, right? To then Tough Nut, to then Rock. But as soon as you're doing that, you're introducing reds and yellows too excessively into the deck, and you can't consistently rock. And if you're planning to rock, your hand is already screwed up. It's really rough because of the cost, right? Because to capitalize on the go again effect, you need more than this in your hand. Because even as, Tough Nut, say you hit a blue, say you're just keeping Jaws of Victory, right? What can you do after that? You can't really take any of the other clubs. Wait, no. Bone Basher? Was Bone Basher 1 cost? No, is it? Was it Bone Basher? No, Bone Basher is 2 costs as well. Yeah. He just doesn't have a cheap enough weapon. Well, I suppose he's sticking with Tunic. And you have those bigger turns every 3-ish turns. Wind up the crowd. So a combination of, well, actually no, we don't have one for toughness. So just a better wind-up vigor, right? Because it's also on a 6 power card. So instant discard this, create a toughness and a vigor token. So again, that case of getting to at least 2 toughness, although probably need at least 3 unless we have a supreme amount of better block cards. So yeah, it counts as a 6 discard. It's a blue. You can put in your deck for toughness ability for any of your other discards. And then, if you don't need it, instant discard, clean up your hand to then go into rock. Seems nice enough. Toughness and vigor. I wonder if we'll get the range of them, right? What would it be? It'd probably just be toughness, vigor, toughness, agility, toughness, might, right? And they'd all probably be insane. And then the balance here is now 0 instead of 2 block as the other wind-up cards. Other wind-up cards. God, I have a horrible habit of closing tabs. I remember, are the other wind-up cards 2 block? Yeah. So that's sort of the balance. Numbskull Charm we've seen. Leather and Vim we've seen. No hero stands alone. When this is in any zone, if you've controlled a toughness token this turn, this gets +3 and ambush. And then when this defense clashes with the attacking hero, the winner may choose an attacking or defending card to get -3, either power or block. So the idea there is the opponent wins, they take the -3 block. If you win, you take the -3 power, right? So it's potentially worth 6, which is kind of cool. Is it worthwhile to use if you don't have the toughness token? If you've controlled toughness token, so it's the same as the seismic surge triggers, which is nice, right? Because again, toughness clears. You can save this for a following attack. So you essentially, toughness gives you a 4 block, and then this gives you potential 6, right? I wonder if there's going to be enough of these 6 decent cards, 6 power decent cards, to make this work. Ambush is definitely nice to see return. It probably should have been what was explored instead of block, right? But ambush, block, and defense reactions, different facets for different things. Although I guess ambush just makes it significantly better than block, right? Because it has that duality. But fortunately, no wager. Which is sad, because actually, thinking like with Smash Palace and UPF, wager really should have been in there. Because I'm looking at like the Goblin guy, Fight Master Cox, and just thinking, the only way to use his hero ability is to hit an event card that gives him gold. And that sucks. At least with wager, it'd be a bit more reasonable. It's a 1 card, 7 block, right? 1 from the toughness, 3 from winning the clash, and 3 from its ability. Yeah. So it starts off as 4 block, and then as long as you win, you get the -3. Although I think it's tough, mate. You're probably still breaking it up. It is nice that it has the if you've controlled, not, something like if this was buffed by toughness, this gets the +3. I mean, what's the rationale? I suppose if this does have the toughness, even if your opponent wins, it's still blocking for 1. Escalate order. When this attacks, if you control a toughness token, create 3 more. Now that definitely seems a lot nicer. What is it? It's just... Is this sort of the only thing you do, right? Well, nice and easy. You go Tough Nut, you get the resources. That covers this as well. Is this next attack, or is this only brutes? Next attack this turn. So you can gauntlet it. Where we're at. Not bad of intimidating on opponent's turn. The thought of losing your blue and bricking your whole hand is disgusting. Yeah, and the weird thing too is it's in Guardian. Like, that's even weirder to me. But, it will either not last long. Life in general, it seems like they went overboard with, which is crazy because I thought he would be, similar to Rock, well, similar to Tough Nut, very memey. They want to toy around with the intellect, but they've gone overboard in my opinion for Life. He seems sort of like the strongest out of the lot so far. a good chunk of disruption, a lot of setup, and big attacks, right? Yeah. I mean, God. As long as it seems okay, I'll rock around. Definitely for the first week or so. But probably life, right? I'm on a big Guardian kick at the moment. Scamp skin, but not once a game, and that's busted. That is busted. The oh, are we talking about this? With hindsight? I mean, I assume this gets banned for similar reasons to Plume as well. I mean, it's more understandable now why Talk a Big Game was banned, because you have a Fix a Match and Helm of Hindsight, where you can go Fix a Match, fine, Talk a Big Game, Helm of Hindsight it back for your next turn, and then Fix a Match again, fine, Talk a Big Game, right? You can line up those consistent 2-3 turns of big tokens. So, block out, tough nuts, get toughness, attack with this, block out. It seems like he's gonna have real difficulty going back and forth, and he will just be a straight up fatigue deck, which is cool. But it's not really my playstyle. I want to be able to just try to bash someone to death with rock, right? Even if I fall short, not, block out, block out, block out, block out, block out. Definitely quite the contrast to the usual brute playstyle. Quite fair. Limited. Spend by a Reviled card, this gets +1. When this hits a Reviled hero, put this on the bottom of its deck. I'll be strong and limited. Will the crowd, when this defends, if you've been cheered this turn, defending action cards get +3 this chain link. Wow, that is nice. Can either of them cheer on demand? No. Yes, technically. Technically, Tough Nut can cheer on demand. If you've been cheered this turn, defending action cards get +3. This chain link. So you can't go overboard, but against someone big, this is... Oh, it's on rate as well. It's a rare block that's on rate. That's scary. Right? Because in red, this would amount to a 4. Well, this should definitely be one of the stronger rares, then. Dig in... Spoiled one of the first cards, right? Turn the crowd grateful. More limited. Rock pose. Next attack turn gets +3 and the crowd cheers you. So that's worth a toughness and tough nut. For 2 block. And a confidence. Pleiades for +3. Probably just filler. KO. So very curious to see what the deck ends up with, because it's very apparent that all the Reviled cards will be small, right? I don't think we've gotten anything that's a 6 or above. No, never mind. That's a 7. Anything else? 1 so far, and then Overturn is the closest. And although these seem like a bunch of life cards, it's weird, right? Because you have this. Well, maybe this isn't just... I was thinking this has more use in KO, but does it? The Vigor's kind of nice, and if you build a small enough deck. But like Battered, Beaten, and Broken definitely seems way better in Lithe. I mean, in general, it's just the idea that he can intimidate, and Guardian's not balanced around being able to intimidate, so it's very disgusting, and a lot of it is just going to work out way too good, especially with the intellect, right? So yeah, I think Lithe probably gets pruned fairly early, because he's shaping up to be really disgusting. Where we're up to, Big Bully. When stacked hero, if you have more life than them, the crowd boos you. If you've been booed this turn, this gets... Oh, its base is doubled, so this does turn into a big 6. Base is doubled, which is then applicable for Berserker. Then it can be doubled again. So it's just a nice, big... Maybe a boo on Q. Yeah, and well, no, if this was in Lithe, it would just counteract its own effect, right? But the problem is, how easy is it as KO to get booed? Have we seen any boo cards that aren't life dependent? I don't think so. Definitely going to be just a crazy dash. Because the other thing too is Guardian is great into, well, is the half manifold? Because you can still take Sledge and just fatigue out Gravy. Anyway, couple that with his hit. I think they balanced Tough Nut correctly around the intellect, right? Where it's a challenge to get back to your value, but it's not impossible. Whereas Lithe just seems like he is significantly above. Because at the bare minimum, all you do is his ability and Rampart, right? And you're back on right. And then you have those turns where you have 5 cards to just go nuts with something, or even 6 if you keep the arsenal, right? So yeah, Lithe, same. But I'll still probably just focus on shenanigans. Cheers, Charm Scene, still victory. When this defense, steal an aura token from the attacking hero as a 3 blue block. 3 blue block, wow. A lot of cards in this set sort of take the stat mold and break it, right? Because just, I mean, this just as a blue 3 block, no textless, would be fine. I suppose it's in Brute, so it makes up for their lack of block. Steal an aura token the attacking hero controls. Any aura token too. Could be useful enough. But again, just the fact that this is a 3 block. Defensive behavior, if you control a Might or Vigor token, this gets +1. When this hits a hero, create a Might and Vigor token. And just stuff like that to upkeep the tokens. Like, Lithe is just going to easily be able to consistently have, several Might. And I don't think the Aura Destruction in this is super strong, because it's all destroy 1 of each copy, rather than a stack of something. Ah, the crazy card. This and Pleiades stuff, when they show the Majestic one and the Legendary Guardian Gauntlets, I think the Majestic is significantly better. I think it should have been the Legendary, because the ability to, speed up a suspense counter card is pretty crazy. Yeah. Yeah, if only you could steal more. But it's definitely nice going into your turn, right? They set up their ward, and then you steal half of it, or at least a couple of it back. Not to mention just acting as a popper, right? Because you also have, in like a wide game plan of Prism, they swing, you go at block out, you take one of theirs back, and then they have one less token to swing with. Pretty crazy. But yeah, leave them hanging. So this card does not seem fairly balanced, right? As both instant intimidate and a 3 block in a hero that has that 1 extra card. So, you could think of this as a 0 cost card, particularly, right? So, yeah. I mean, even if it didn't have the suspense and the +4 in 2 turns, this is just probably enough, because again, it's, what would you call it? A third of the time, potentially, it just wrecks your opponent's turn because it hits the card they want to play or the card they want to pitch, right? So, yeah. I mean, if there was ever a time to learn priority windows, which is something I have to do because I never really cared about them, probably now, right? So, yeah. If you give your opponent any priority window at the start of your turn, you are just royally effed by this card. One way or the other. And then in 2 turns, they get a +4, right? Oh. Stealing a shield, 2 value, not bad, 5 block. Yeah, in blue as well. Still Fang's 3rd field team. Problem is, Fang, I never feel like that's enough, right? Because once they get to 2, it's like, any number of cards and they can easily get to that third one prior to then swinging their daggers on their turn, right? Or even by the second dagger swing, even. It's why I like the Renounced Grandeur from Mastery Pack Guardian more than the other Aura Destruction in that, because it turns off Guilty Generation for a whole turn. So it's reset the stack. It's get rid of one, basically resetting the stack, and then stopping them from getting that third one for a whole turn. Whereas all the new stuff, yeah, it slows them down. And then make your stuff draconic. Is there anyone who cares about turning something draconic? I mean, weirdly, there's ninja players, aren't there? Right? Because there's a few ninja cards that care if they're draconic. And you could just destroy. Do we have any steel in normal? In generic? Not yet. That'd be kind of cool, right? The ninja matchups is like Ira or Katsu. So you'd have to run the draconic card, which you probably wouldn't do. But yes, fun is always nice to find. So yeah, leave them hanging. There's a +4 as well. Feels like this should be like a +2. Right? Because then it's still 5 value for 3. What should it be for 3? 0 is 3, 1 is 4, 2 is 5. I guess it's under rate. No, it's not, because this is 7. It's a 3 for 7 plus the 2-turn delay, which kind of makes it a 3 for 5. I guess that's still under rate, technically. Going off of normal math. It's just such an insane card, right? Because the implications of Intimidate are way more than just, a -3, especially when it's on your opponent's turn. Then 2 steps ahead is definitely an interesting card as well. I mean, it's just a solid blue, I suppose. It's worth 3, a +3, and confidence. Again, same sort of metric, right? Because it takes 2 turns. It should be worth. It's on rate plus the confidence, right? Because straight away should be a +1. Second turn should be a +2. Third turn should be a +3. But yeah, the fact that you can, as Lyeth, present something half decent while also going for these cards is pretty crazy. 7, at least if you brick a hand, you get unimaginable value. Yeah. Yeah. That's what feels a little off about this, is they haven't valued Intimidate on an instant correctly. But yeah, you go leave them hanging, 2 steps ahead, you throw out some other Guardian Auras, and then that third turn you just wail on them, I suppose. Right? Truth or Trickery. When this defends, you may look at the top card of your deck and choose a color. If you do, the attacking hero guesses if that card is the chosen color. They then look at it, they guessed wrong, they discard a card, right? So, idea there is you can pick blue, red, yellow, or pearl, I believe is the correct term, which I assume will screw a lot of people up. Is, cream makes sense. But, pearl I will assume is valid, and I would wholeheartedly expect that the release notes for this is these are the 4 colors you should pick, right? Even though the wording is you can pick any color in the world. Granted, then you're just setting it up to be wrong, right? But maybe they want to discard a card. Maybe you don't want them to discard a card. Still, half the time it's being 6 value. I mean, there's no downside in it for you as well, so it's just a 3-block yellow as well, right? With the potential to be 6 value. Why have they given him so much value, right? They really think that halving was enough? Sorry, 2. That's the other thing. 2. 2 in life, right? And they can't get the +1 because it's not an action card. But still, potential 5 is just nuts. You cannot pick Pearl. I think it's not a value. Doesn't have to be a value. It has to be color, right? So the colorless pitch. Because it's not choose the pitch of the card. Does that make sense? It's choose the color. I don't know. Again, it's the complication that we have to see when they do the release notes. Maybe to avoid confusion, the pearl cream non-pitch cards are no color, right? Although that doesn't really make functional sense either, because you have to choose a color, so picking no color is not a choice, right? No, yeah, so it has to be pearl. Yeah, yeah. So no color is no choice, yeah. Pearl, red, yellow, blue. Going off of the, what's it called? The comprehensive rule booklet sheet thing, right? Pearl is what it's referred to in there. Script Sandies, nope. Bully Tactics. I'm always going to bring up this card because this card is also nuts. This card should not exist. This card should not exist in the same vein as Setup, right? Because, I mean, it's like reverse dominate, essentially. But still. The idea there is, with Bully Tactics, you can tailor it, right? Because you won't always need the 3 cards gone from your opponent, but, you know, you can get up to 3, which is just insane. And then, again, you have the fact that it's a 0 cost, right? So, he has so many ways to make attacks go a bit further, right? Because you could Snapdragon Scalers, which is a weird thing to see in Guardian or think about in Guardian. You can... What other cards? I mean, Flying High was always applicable. Believe the Charge, eh. Razor Reflex. You can Razor Reflex these cards, right? As Lyeth. That's pretty nuts. Granted, what would you want to follow it up with? There's lots of different cards you want to follow it up with that are decent enough. I mean, even like that. Right? Bully Tactics into Battered and Beaten, Broken. This clears their hand, most likely regardless, and then this just is the kicker. I like the Reviled cards, but like, damn, so many of these don't play nicely. As in, don't play nicely for the opponent, because they seem to play very nicely for you. Right? I feel like Bully Tactics more in a KO deck. It's obviously great in both decks. It depends how... So, my mind for life easily just goes to taking... what are they? Thump, Concuss, and the third one. You know what? I think I have them somewhere, because I had a goofy Velda deck for them. Concuss, Boulder Drop. Well, Boulder Drop's not as significant, but Concuss, Thump, and I'm pretty sure there's a third one, right? Because they have the, if this has... Whoa, wait. No, they're not as great. Sorry. My mind was not reading this correctly. If this card's power is greater than its base, it gets dominated. So it's halved. And Lyeth's text is not half their base, right? It's just halved. No. How would we word this? What feels correct? The base power of your cards are halved, right? So that means the base of this card is not 6, it's 3. It's not that this goes for 3 when its base is 6. So it only needs a +1. Am I correct in thinking that? But just because of the discard on these, right, and the fact that, unlike all the other crush effects, it just land any number of damage, is what seems insane to me. And then the fact that this comes with Dominate as well. Yes, the cost is quite high, but that's where the, extra card in your hand factors in, so my mind just considers it like a -2 to 3, potentially. Although most likely you are feeding into his ability. Yeah, so I won't find the third one now. What are they? If we do discard, we can find them. Or not, apparently. Oh no, they're not loading. Oh, there we are. So Concuss. Thump. And is there a third one, or am I crazy? Yeah, with Bully Tactics. That does make sense. Although, it would be what? It would be your whole card hand, most likely, to do something like that with KO. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there's not a third one. Still, you have Concuss and Thump, right, as just discard if they deal any amount of damage. But yeah, just the ability to intimidate up to 3 cards with 2 cards is just nuts, right? Because then you're also presenting damage, whereas, with Rhino, for instance, you're losing those cards. Not hand disruption. This. Especially because this is you choose, right? In either of them, this is like the worst combo you could see. Oh, wait, sorry. You're talking about Thompson Cast. Well, again, it's about options. So if you take, for instance, the blues, right? They're your pitchables, and then they're also your hand disruption when you don't have the ability to go for something like this. Not to mention, it also opens up, for instance, with like bully tactics. Instead of Intimidate 3, Intimidate 2. And then Thump comes in with the Dominate. You have to block with one card, then they most likely lose the other card, right? Something like that is where my mind goes. Because this would be 2 costs, Thump would be 4. So it'd be this and that for 2 blues, right? And then that means on your other turn, you just Rampart and Ith for the Might token. Although it can be a bit awkward, right? Because you can't line up the Might with the Thump. But that's the other thing, right? Because his hero ability is just the easiest way to turn on cards like Thump. But the 4 cost is probably a bit rough. Rathe would run more pummel than... would run more pummels, like 4 yellow disruptive cards. My Velda deck is basically just built around disruption, and I'm pretty sure I could just take that, cut the non-disruptive crush cards, stick in the reviled stuff, and probably have a decent go at it. I think Super Saiyan is the most yellow set to be printed so far. Most everything really wants to be yellow, except for hyper-specific blues. All the brutes behave like that. I think... No, I still feel like Lithe is probably a lot better off taking a stronger blue basis. Not majorly blue, but yeah, the brutes are definitely seeming like yellow, right? We're getting a whole bunch of 6 yellows. Is what, brute wants above all. Where are we up to? Fix the match. Being on a stick is neat. I'm sure we'll find it in a second. Or did I miss it? Fix the match. When stacks, search your deck for a card, then shuffle and put that card on top. Whenever a card defends this, clash with the defending hero, the winner creates a Might token. So yeah, this just being a fetch whatever you want. Granted, it's a 1-block card, which is a little bit awkward, but again, it's just reviled, right? So fetch whatever you want as KO as well, which is pretty crazy. Isoton, Lithe has a lot of I'm cool with a ton of yellows, a lot of 3 costs and 4 cost yellows. Lead to a strong endgame state. Yeah, plus well, because my mind is just thinking the best value always is just Rampart, hero, Rampart, hero, Rampart, hero. Meaning you always want a blue. I mean, I suppose I'll know better when I start digging around with it. But yeah. Overall, they have printed a lot of high-quality yellows. I guess in an attempt to make something like this a little bit more awkward. I mean, leave him hanging plus Rampart as 2 yellows is also not bad. I also think he'll take a full 80 card deck. Well, probably be what, like 75, 73-ish with the equipment and arcane switches. Fair enough. Depends whether or not, like, for instance, leave them, or when it comes to red, the majority of them are just this is what you play, right? You never really pitch them. So fix a match. A new 2 to anything card as Guardian. Sorry, I keep thinking Guardian because it's live on the picture. A lot of the Revered cards throw me for a loop, right? Because of that, because you like bully tactics. Lyeth, but no, it's either, right? But yeah, fix a match. When this attack, search your deck for a card, then shuffle and put it on top. So you can find anything you want and have it for your next turn, like Leave Him Hanging. And you don't have to show your opponent, so it is that bluff of this is what you think I'll get, but I'm going to get a big attack just to screw you over anyway. I'm glad I picked Call for backup. There we go, that's the card, yeah. Yeah, Call for backup. Crazy as well. They've printed a lot of consistent effects, right, to line stuff up more than usual, which is insane. Lyeth is the face of the trait. It's a good trait. Yeah. Although, weirdly, isn't this Victor? And I guess... What's the idea? Yeah. Right? It's always hard to tell. I still have the weird running theory that they're the same person. Right? And he just puts on bigger legs. And changes the gold armor. Like, the gold armor is just leg extensions. Right? He's on little stilts. And it's just the same person. And he has his good side, bad side. But that's my insane thought. But yeah, Jude or anything, definitely nuts. With Talk a Big Game, definitely problematic, right? That and the new headpiece, Little Hindsight, just for the fact that you can cycle it back twice and find two things you want. I mean, even with Leave Them Hanging, that's still pretty insane. You go fix a match, leave them hanging, you fetch fix a match back, and you have your next leave them hanging as well, right? You just have 2 turns of screwing over your opponent, most likely. Yeah. You also have the weird synergy with losing clashes, right? Like the guy in Shrek. I just lose my place. Battered, beaten, and broken. When stacks a hero, intimidate them. If you control 3 or more auras, this gets +3. So they don't have to be tokens. They can be tokens or X, right? Gets +3, and when this hits hero, destroy an intimidated card that they own, which is fantastic. Kind of wish this was just Brute, right? Because Brute definitely would love more of this effect, but yeah. As Lyeth, right? Again, being able to bully tactics, battered, beaten, and broken. A pretty crazy combo, right? Especially when you have your selection of what cards to get rid of, right? Before they return to your opponent's hand. And the fact that it comes with Intimidate anyway, so even it by itself is still the chance to be disruptive. And it'd be a 1, so it'd be a 4, right? If you can trigger its effect, it'd be a 4, because 1 isn't harmed by Lyeth's ability. Weird, wide hero. I mean, I think it's also the flexibility he has, right? Where you can go big setup, big attacks, or there's probably some weird angle going wide, right? And chaining stuff together excessively. Gang robbery. When the stacks hero steal an aura token they control, if you control 3 or more auras, this gets +3. Yeah, so lots of ways to take shit. Which is definitely, in the Reviled thematics, right? So steal victory and gang robbery. Aura token, aura token. And if you control 3 or more, this gets +3. So you can be at 2, steal 1, and then put this to that +3 as well. The old switcheroo. Instant discard this next time you clash with target hero this turn. Instead, you reveal the top card of their deck, and they reveal the top card of your deck. If you win the clash, they discard a card. Now, the wording on clash, because this is probably where I get a little confused with it. Clashing heroes reveal the top card of their deck. The hero that reveals the card with the greatest power wins, meaning that you win off of them reveal. Off of their card being greater than yours still, right? Yeah. I no doubt he works best going big, right? Taking full advantage of the extra resources, the ability to fatigue out if you want. But it's always that case where when a hero can do whatever they want, right? In terms of, the play structures of Flesh and Blood, that's when they really excel, because you can switch it up in need be, right? To really just get it over your opponent. It's like going into Verdants, where you have that initial thought of, crap, is this arcane Verdants? Is this split Verdants? Is this just big Verdants? Right? And the fact that you have to openly think that way is disruptive in itself. So yeah, so the old switcheroo, you reveal their card, they reveal your card, the person with the greatest power wins, as per the wording of Clash, right? So, you know, with something like Fix the Match, you find something shitty, and then the old switcheroo when they go to defend it, something like that, right? And then they get the discard penalty. So yeah, this is just a nice utility card. It's definitely cool. They definitely are really leaning into the instant discard effects, which is pretty nice, right? It's a good system for Fab. Granted, you know, definitely can't go too overboard, right? And they have to sort of think creatively about what cards to attach it to. So I like the idea that attacks, you know, can have that little bit of crossover with like the ambush effects as pseudo defense reactions that aren't defense reactions, and then as, you know, functional utility cards through the instance. But like Shelter from the Storm, pretty crazy that a defense reaction has that type of effect, right? An on-rate defense reaction has that type of effect. Fight Dirty, Limited, Mocking Blow, Scene. They're really showing some solid utility cards in this set. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of design aspects they're exploring, which is really cool, right? Even just the way to make Clash more exciting with the reversal cards is pretty cool. Speaking of which, overturn the results. If you had failed to win a Clash revealing this, instead you win the Clash, and the crowd boos you. So, just to go through the confusing scenario while it's in my head. You old switcheroo, they reveal this, they lose, it gets overturned, they win, they get booed. That would have been a cool thematic thing, right? If the I'm pretty sure this is the only way, but imagine if, for instance, the revered heroes, you know, there was some penalty if they got booed, because obviously they're not meant to be booed, right? But either way, this is still just win it either way, right? Against wide, it's probably big enough to win, and then against big, it's gonna make you win anyway, and then you get the boo effect, right? So yeah, solid clash piece to have in either of them, right? Although well, I suppose it's still blue pitchable, and you know KO doesn't demand sixes as most other brutes, right? Depending on how many cards are actual functional. So I think it's fair. Cheap shots. If you've been booed this turn, you may play this as though it were instant. Deal 2 damage to target hero unless they discard a card. So yeah, this is a very weary card that people have to watch out for. Lithe block. I will scroll up in a second after we do cheap shot then. Cheap shots. So your opponent has to actively hold a card. In other words, if they're at 2 life, right? Or, you know, some weird scenario. Because Lithe can boo on demand. So Lithe can activate this whenever he wants. So against Lithe, right? Just running cheap shot in the deck creates a really awkward position near the end of the game. Because throughout the game, you can use it as utility if you want to just force them to have one less card, which is definitely nice, or, you know, make them take the chip damage. Or, again, in the late game, if they overextend trying to clean up, you can play this before damage resolves, right? Because you can just go Lithe, cheap shot, and they're dead before their damage triggers. So, yeah. I don't know how I necessarily feel about thresholds, right? I think 2 is fine. Anything more excessive? Granted, it's a 0 cost card, so again, you know, looking for 2 of these is not out of the question. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a fun card. Just, yeah, recycling it. I mean, you just take you just take them, you just recycle them, and then your turns basically pitch a blue, boo, rampart, your block, cheap shot, over and over. But there will definitely be games won where this is in hand. Your opponent then thinks they've got you through, you know, maybe having that reaction over, right? The block, and then you cheap shot them to death. Yeah, and then in a prolonged game, you can just pitch it away and save it. It's just such a looming threat in a deck, which is kind of problematic to me, right? If he didn't have the way to boo on Q, then it would be a bit more acceptable, I think. But it's not that hard to do, right? It's 2 cards to then maybe win the game off of it, right? The block. What was the block? Truth or Trickery. So it's 2 value in Rathe, which is fine. You can't buff it with Rathe's ability, which is fine because the discard effect is solid enough, right? Because a 2 block yellow is still on right with a strong effect like this, right? Yeah. Not all blocks should be full. Should start at 4. So when this defends me, look at the top card of your deck and choose a color. Red, yellow, blue, pearl is what we're going with, right? According to the wording in the Flesh and Blood rules, right? God, yeah, that as well. Figment, turn, cheap shot. Oh, right before they draw up. Something like that, right? Just before they end their turn. Sure, you've got your damage across from it, sure. But it's going away. There's so many scenarios to have to watch out for with cheap shot. But yeah, truth or trickery. So choose a color. Well, no. We'll go through the steps properly. 1, you look at the card. 2, you choose a color. 3, your opponent agrees or disagrees with that chosen color. If they get it right, they don't discard a card. If they get it wrong, they have to discard a card. So there's potentially, 5 value on a yellow block, which is definitely really nice, right? Plus, it's worse because it's disruptive, and it's a block, so you play it before reactions as well. So, into certain heroes, that can definitely be damning. It's just how often you succeed, right? And I think Rathe definitely takes a decent mix, right? Definitely yellows and blues, so you always have that valid question of, is it actually that, right? The Truth of Trickery, definitely a really fun card. But again, they've given him so much value. It's like they don't realize he's 5 intellect. Because to me, this does not balance out. The way they've worded toughness balances out with tough nut. But yeah, he can get around. I mean, his own ability gets around it and then gives you 1 extra resource to go into Rampart, regardless. So Truth or Trickery is definitely a really, really solid block card. And I think it's actually better as a block than, say, a defense reaction. Average value of 3.5, which is perfect, right? Because that's then slightly above right if it was a 4 block card in red, for instance. I mean, people are probably just going to blind guess anyway. Just thinking if there's any ways to truly trick them. It's also not revealing and it's not clashing, even though the wording is similar, right? I think that's worth pointing out. Mainly the reveal part. It's you look, they look. Right? So you both get a look, but it's not actually being revealed. But guess wrong, discard a card. And again, picking any color option is maybe valid, but isn't correct, right? Because then your opponent could just say it's wrong. So red, yellow, blue, pearl, green. Pitchless. Whatever the wording ends up in with the notes that they release. Sadistic Scowl is also a decent card to me. Granted, it's a bit more fair on the value. I like that it's a may look, so I can just say color blindly. Was it? When this defends, you may look at the top card of your deck and choose a color. But the and there, doesn't that mean you have to? Right? You have to look you have to look to choose a color. Because it's not you may look and then choose a color. The wording sometimes gets me in fact. Again, it is quite the complex card that we will have to see what the release notes are to really clarify it and its proper use, right? Well, no, you look, then they look, so they get to look too. So I was thinking, disagreements or bad rulings. But, you could also just go and not really look at it anyway. Basically do that regardless. It's what then constitutes a look and what becomes a valid judge call for the mind games and other shenanigans. But yeah, it's fun, flavorful, and again, more value than it probably should be for life in particular. Sadistic Scowl. So this is... There's a good position there. Essentially a 8 value card, right? For 3. 3 for 8 is definitely above, right? Again, God. 0, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6, right? So it's 2 above right. That's pretty much all you have to say. It's 2 above right? Pretty nice. And then again, you can go into this plus bully tactics is a full clear. This plus this battered, beaten, broken is still a very decent amount of clear, right? And then, could potentially be a 9, which is insane. A 9 with 2 cards left in your opponent's hand. A 9 for 3. A 3 for 9, taking 2 cards away from your opponent. I'm scared of Sadistic Scale, really scared of it being really strong at the end of this Sand the Arsenal for lethal. And the 8 value if it is killing. And it's also attacks. So, even fatiguing, you can just play it to swing your weapon. Not greatest, but it's okay. I think it's a bit too high for a rare, right? Probably be a +4 or +3 even. Again, it feels to me like they undervalue Intimidate in Guardian, right? And the fact that not being able to block with certain cards or lesser amounts of cards is the challenge, right? In Brute, it's probably obviously balanced around the fact it's not an attack or anything like that. Concealed object. So our first look at a chair, and it's interesting artwork wise. I get the flair they're going for. It's weird having it meshed with the painted art. What is it? Danger sense? Like it with the background especially. It's like the animated Spider-Man movies. CNC for 11 is neat. Plus the Intimidate and the non-defense reactions. Yeah, that's pretty scary. Earthall Surge was printed. There are definitely far more disgusting rares. But Earthall Surge, is it actually? Doesn't feel worthwhile. Pay 2, next attack action. Yeah, no. Because again, it doesn't have the Intimidate. Right? That's the issue. It's how much above? You get technically 1 from not having a block. And then you also have the restriction of it being an attack action card. It's also a little bit more damning. But what did we say? Statistic scale is 2, 3 above rate? And this is on rate. No, this is on rate, right? 0, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6. Whereas statistic scale is an 8, technically. So statistic scale is 2 above rate, where this is on rate. Unrestricted-ish. They're definitely far more disgusting rares. There is definitely a good cohort of disgusting rares. Behold Lights, Copper Cog. What have I missed? Lights, Copper Cog. As in sadistic scale? Concealed objects. Or this. Oh, right, this is an item. This is the Copper Cog. When this enters the arena, the crowd boos you. I guess that's okay. Instant. Tap. Target attack gets +1. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy this. What? Did they... Oh, it's an instant item. There we go. I was thinking, how is this usable? It's an instant item. This is better than a Copper Cog. It's an instant boo, which is highly significant. It's an instant blue boo that again turns on cheap shot from what we were talking about, right? Target attack gets +1. Meh. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy this. So you can still use it on your opponent's turn, get the boo. It depends what you value the boo at, I suppose. I mean, as compared to, normal blues, right? Should be at a +1. And no block, should probably be a little bit higher. Yeah, and it's 2 value as a blue. Because you get the might or the vigor from the boo, and then you get the +1. Not to mention, if you're going to use it on your turn anyway, you can just use it on your opponent's turn and have the might and vigor trigger at the start of your turn. No, this actually seems really good. Because there's lots of cases where you want to... Well, actually, is there many defensive boos? Because the other option is... when this attacks a hero, if you have more life, no. If you've been booed this turn, this gets +3, right? Because all of these are static checks. So it's also a pseudo attack reaction. Are there any other weird combinations? If you control, turns on obscenities. Offensive behavior. I mean, the only thing it doesn't work with is when this attack checks. I mean, even this. You could weirdly use it as an attack reaction around battered, beaten, and broken. Right? Where you could use it as Lithe or KO to create that third aura potentially. Making it something your opponent has to block around. Which can be nice, right? Because at the very least, then you can yoink their cards. And anytime you can set up plays where you're forcing your opponent to block because you could do X is always disgusting. So, yeah. I actually like this a lot more than I was thinking. I mean, Mocking Blow, helping confirm it goes hard. If you can go insanely hard on double stacking with it, it can be really strong 2-card hand. +4. Yeah. Yeah, so it synergizes with enough of the new cards, and it's definitely really nice. And it feels kind of... Well, it's definitely better as an instant item rather than something you could only play on your turn. That as well, right? Playing it around Arsenal Destruction. Playing around Arsenal Destruction, getting the boo, and then also the +1 on your turn. Yeah. Yeah, the rares are pretty solid this set so far. Like, even Will of the Crowd is a really nice block. Low blow. If been booed this turn, this gets +3. Common. Limited. Next attack this turn gets +3. Create a might token. Sort of limited. We started with the brute stuff. Guess we're up to Cutting Retort. When stacks hero, you may pay up to 3, destroy that many aura tokens with different names they control. If you do, this gets +1 for each aura destroyed this way. I kind of wish this didn't have the different names, right? Probably be... No, it'd probably be fine, because it's majestic, right? It should be that level of strength. But I don't know if this is necessarily disruptive enough, right? Hey, mods. When stacks here, you may pay up to 3. So it's a 0, 4, 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7. Right? Depending if you can actually destroy. It also doesn't help that I basically stream sporadically. I got to fit around the uni schedule. Need a break from lectures. Ugh. If you didn't say different names, I'd instant run it over AB for fighting Florian. Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like you've got the heroes that build an X stack of tokens, where this would be nice if again it didn't have that effect. And then you have the heroes that don't, and it's like, is it really worthwhile for this to be your turn? To be just a Cutting Retort to destroy a aura token? We're just going over the cards. The spoilers. So I'm definitely leaning towards Lithe. But I have a tendency not to like heroes that are really good. Because I want, some meat on the bone for me to think about deck construction and what to build. And Life definitely seems like he has the most value coming out of Super Slam so far. Granted, we haven't seen the whole setup of Guardian stuff for Pleiades and her extra turn, so maybe she's insanely good as well. But yeah, probably take a crack at Tough Nut with Rock, then Life, and then just settle into Pleiades is probably my thought right now. Also insanely good for Fang. Encounter is 1. Yeah, that is nice. Just to be able to tunic it. And then you waited for more wager, and it never came. I mean, I guess Cunning Retort serves its purpose, because it does have those use cases. And it does leave them room to then have a, stack destructing. Or a disruptive card. I guess it's enough to slow them down by a turn. Just for the, the bigger decks. Rune Chance, 1 feels like a drop in the barrel. Guess it's kind of nice for Spectral Shield, but at the same time, if you're getting damage across that, it does the job anyway. I mean, that's one way to handle Warrior and making it different from Assassin, is to make it very much rely on token generation. Between Seismic Agility, Might, Vigor, and Faculty and Fang. But even then, like the Agility and the Vigor are probably the biggest hits. Might's okay, Seismic. As Velda, sure, you're turning off the Dominate, which would be great, but chances are they're getting to 3, they're probably getting to more than 3 anyway. Then any other time, it's basically just getting rid of a Vigor. I think it's just good, right? It's not great, but it's good, which is, good enough. Kick the Hornet's Nest. When an opponent's effect puts this into the graveyard from anywhere, create a Confidence, Might, Toughness, and Vigor token. So this is just a better version of the blue 2 in Heavy Hitters, no? Token Warrior sounds fun. If 2 or 3 of those classes are popular, I think Retort would be solid sideboard. Yeah. Still an easy block, it still presents breakpoint damage. Problem I have with cards like that is A, you have to find it in your deck, and B, it's like a 1-turn stall to then find something else in your deck, which can definitely be enough. No agility off of it, but it's a yellow 6, right? Because the thing is, who is running the blue from Heavy Hitters, right? Not really. Even though it could be good, it just relies on too much interaction from your opponent. Whereas at least this has the fallback of being a 6, right? For Brute most likely. I don't necessarily know if anyone else takes a liking to it. I guess it depends on the level of disruption. Yeah, probably a sideboard thing into a very disruptive matchup. Because also it has to be graveyard. I feel like they should open up the effects so it hits banish as well. And then it's just any form of milling, right? Helps with it. Because as long as it's gated in that sense, where it has to be your opponent's effect, hitting the banish zone, doesn't break Levia, doesn't break stuff you could do, right? I mean, imagine if it was that, and you could take this against Intimidate, and then every time your opponent intimidates you, there's a chance to hit this, get the tokens. I mean, that'd be kind of cool, no? If Lithe with cheap shot cards becomes obnoxious as hell, we'll see. Yeah, cheap shot definitely seems like it's going to be obnoxious. There are a couple cards in Lithe that seem like they will be absolutely obnoxious. I mean, it's what they want from a set, right? That spike in power. It'll be interesting to see what the first wave of bans hit out of it. Do we feel that anything is necessarily broken, right? Where life just jumps to the top straight away? I think he might, right? Because he's just an all-rounder. He can go big. can be disruptive. You can block out solidly as well. Generic ways of getting confidence is interesting. I think confidence might just end up as the easy to access token for everyone as a way to, have that level of block prevention. I run as Guardian Pummel Hate, and it's a blue for me to help deal with AB. I'm getting the feeling Reviled has overall more casts than Revered, but it's so hard to gauge. Well, I haven't seen the bulk of the Revered stuff, right? We'll count them up afterwards. Alliance ain't outnumbering Syndra or Ira, let's make that clear. Yeah, but it's not number. As long as you're getting damage across and being disruptive. Especially with classes like that, where if you can hit the right card, right, with disruption, it really wrecks their turn. I mean, the other aspect of it is the counter to him. What does it open up deck construction wise, right? Because then, creating that healthy cycle in the meta would be nice. Goliath, I will probably attempt to make him go wide, just because it seems like that's not the thing to do. Yeah, and you can take the thumps. That's dominate discard. You only have to land 1 point of damage. You can take the pummels if you go big. You can take just the guardian stuff in general. You have the new intimidates that you have access to. There's a lot going on, a lot of possibilities for him, I think. And we still don't have the whole picture either. I mean, because the other situation is you build up fatigue, you stall out until it's just the good intimidate stuff. I've not seen The Rock. We'll watch Margin Bay's video. I've seen the Savage. Yeah, you don't want them to fit in the same hand. You want to spread them out so you can capitalize on the extra card and the block value. Because it's just about slowing them down enough where they have to do something, and that slowly just picks apart their deck. It's hard to say, but to me, sometimes blocking out feels like the better fatigue method than milling, because you're utilizing your opponent's resources. As long as you can block effectively, and I guess we'll still have to see how much the halving really matters. Same rock, but background's different. Interesting. Beat the same job. If you control an agility token this turn, create an agility token, then repeat for confidence, might, toughness, and vigor. There's a nice blue 3-block, right? I mean, great in Brute, great in anyone who has access to this, because it's just a double down, right? Is it enough, though? Like, how many of these tokens you need? Because most classes can get to 2 comfortably, reasonably, right? I mean, agility and vigor as, like, warrior would be really nice. Agility and might as brute. Restacking the confidence is nice as well. There's actually a remarkable amount of love for Ryan. Yeah, this is fairly close to like Savage Lands, or what we'd expect to get out of Savage Lands. I'd expect. I guess you do now, but they're all equally shit. There's definitely some solid. Like overall, the utility of this set is the big thing. We might as well do the brute cards again because I went over them at the start, right? So Gauntlets of Tyrannical Rex, fun. Use case is a little bit awkward to me, right? But it'll have its place in comparison to Bonebreaker Apex. Reckless Stampede is definitely a interesting card. You could probably KO someone, right? Because it's presenting that awkward scenario where they're low enough where they have to maybe double block this and take the chip damage potentially. Show of Strength is a great alternative swing big or an extra swing big, right? you know, you just take it out on the matchups where you know they'll be comfortably able to reduce it. Otherwise, you know, requires 3 blocks, most likely. Down to the alpha, when the stack's brute, it gets +2. So regardless of text, it's still a yellow 6, right? So that's a nice enough, right? And then in the brute mirror matchups, you have its extra use case of being an 8 that then also can force discard. Although the lose 2 life could be a little bit of a penalty, but yeah. Smashing ground, Arsenal destruction, right? As KO, you just turn this to a 6 yourself, makes it a bit of a costly play. For everyone else, it just takes a might, right? Which is really good as middle KO. Smash with a big rock. Cards defending this can't gain block. Again, nice sideboard tech for certain matchups that are actively gaining block. Song of Sinnoh, quicker cast bones, right? With reduced range, no agility, but still nice enough. Visit the Boneyard, better dig up dinner, I think, right? Because you can specifically find what you want, put it on top, and you get the resource out of it for your next turn, being an instant, right? I mean, the draw discard, I guess, is kind of cool. So, you know, with the draw discard brute cards, you find Beast Within, you get a Vigor for your turn, you play one of them, you have a chance to hit the Beast Within, right? It's kind of nice. You still pop off with Bloodrush Bellow, but you play a little more chill. You can also put... Oh, I've missed a card. I've missed a text. Queen Swing, Big Show, Strength, Reckless Stampede, and the ways to make might. I think there's a stable Rhino deck now that just has 3 blocks and swings for 2 cards-ish. Yeah. And then what? Take some of the buffs, Intimidate, right? Was it barraging, beatdown and stuff like that? It's kind of cool. You can also put Alpha Rampage on top to win virtually any class with Visit. Yeah, that's kind of cool as well. Yeah, barraging beatdown. Let's take a look at... Oh, is it not up on the articles yet? There we are. I'm just going to skip to the cards because that's what I care about. Don't follow the meta stuff too much. Truth or Trickery. What's this? It's another revealed card. Where's the new stuff? Cape Shot. Oh, Rock. Ah, so it's like they've moved it to the arena, essentially, which is cool. Can't come in cold foil, right? But it'll be rainbow foil? Maybe, hopefully. Then there's Savage Sash, which can come in cold foil. Because it's only been the gold foils, right? That'd be cool. Rock just goes around the globe. That'd make it a fun promo. That is what they like to do. I still like the other Savage Sash art, I gotta say. This, to me, doesn't focus on the sash, right? Like, I guess it's this? No. No, but that's for the pauldrons. That's the Savage Sash band in this? Savage Sash. I suppose in this it's the same sort of thing. My mind just goes, that's the sash. The Echidna bear? Isn't Echidna bear? But yes, it's nice that there'll be more sashes around, right? Considering this was this the first armory deck? Second armory deck? Fast and Furious. Looks gorgeous. Might be the first gem pack card that I care about. Doesn't look like equipment art. It looks like a token. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I think mainly because it's a full body image, right? That's the awkwardness, whereas most equipment focuses on the slot that it's in, not a big shot. It's like if they zoomed in, cut out the bottom of the leg and the head, right? And still made it long. Would be kind of cool. I even put the arm off. Just had the background stuff, right? So this was the focus. I think that's as well as putting me off in perspective. But, you know, it's still card away. It's cool art, right? It would make a cool hero. A sort of, you know, chieftain brute, right? Which is also another weird thing, because he doesn't appear overly savage. Versus again the echidna bear head. Kind of looks like he's wandering around. I think maybe he's hunting. But the Fast and Furious, that looks gorgeous. They have softened the palettes, right, a lot. Is what I've noticed. Like things are less distinctive. There's a lot more flattening, right? Depth. I mean, that's the other thing they could have done, is just made it a bit more gory. Water, corpse, blood. Standing in the boneyard. Ooh. I mean, that would be cool, right? Savage Lands. That name, Boneyard. And we get Mystic, Brute, and stuff like that, right? Because we have the Cast Bones lady several times now. That's actually something I wasn't paying attention to. Is any of the new cards? There is some more stuff. Where were they? I saw them. There they are. And then the Helm of the Arc-Knight and Halo. So they are still the extended art, which is cool, right? Because that's what you get in the convention decks. Wait, no. Uh, Armory deck, Prism. Yeah, no, so they're still the same. So it's EA and the microtext art, right? What these come in? So these are cold foils, so they'll be rainbow foils. So they are the step down, but it's still nice enough, right? You still have access to them, which is good enough. Anything else? No, this rock. Still, that's kind of nice with the background. Be kind of cool if they could Marvelize it, because I wouldn't mind that with the different backgrounds. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the Dynasty Marvels. All right, I think that pretty much covers. I mean, we'll go to the Reddit and see if there's anything new. Nope. Did Smashing Ground, did Concealed. Bolting Gesture? No, that was there. Had Being Broken, Low Blow. Maybe I dreamt it, but I felt like there was a Reiner card. I think that's everything. Goes of Victory, you know, Hero Stands. Yeah. Think nothing new quite yet. It's interesting because we can go to the spoiler announcement, right? Goliath, all of Tough Nuts, and we've gotten most of KOs. There's still one to come, but I do definitely want to see this stuff because anytime they give me a card that, again, is a whole bunch of setup with a payoff of an extra turn, definitely going to build that, right? So these should be tomorrow. Which is weird, because even isn't the spoiler season until the 12th? So it feels like we've gone a lot of it kind of early. Although I suppose on the weekend will just be, you know, rares and stuff. No, till the 11th. Yeah, which is basically the 12th. Then the rest of everything. 2 weeks between? Why do I feel like the pre-release is normally a week after? Not 2 weeks, and then the release is 2 weeks. That's a big gap. Ugh. Don't buy stuff. That's always a recommendation. Don't buy stuff during this time, where everything's awkward and crazy. And sure, if you have events, understandable, but very much better off waiting. Other than that, I think that's my cue to get some lunch and then continue with uni work instead. Right, we've hit all the cards, talked about whatever craziness we can think of, the value of cheap shot and some of these other reviled stuff. Maybe his tech shouldn't have been base, maybe it should have just always been halved. Maybe that'd be too excessive. But life is definitely gonna be something. Also, coincidentally, none of the spoilers have been the expansion slot cards, right? And there's not even a extra day, right, for the expansion slot cards. Is it? Oh no, there is the main event. But that's not enough for the expansion slot cards. We'll see. Now, you can probably guess from the spoilers what a lot of people got. Oh well. It'll all be out by week's end. / start of next week. At least this time, the expansion slots are great. The expansion slot cards are pretty nice. I think there weren't. I can't remember. I mean, we'll wait patiently. But I don't think there were misses. Too many misses. Like you know, goofy cards like Escalate Bloodshed or something. Yeah. The Hunted was hit or miss, definitely. I think Super Slam is pretty well rounded. No worries. Thanks, Moz. Thanks, everyone else, for hanging around. But we'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time, maybe.